I won't hide. I won't hide. Boom, 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 set you down. Boom, boom, set you down. Boom, 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 set you down. Boom. If Jah is standing by my side, then why should I be afraid of the pestilence that
Bless up yourself, one and all, one and all. It's another episode of the Troy Graham Experience. And as usual, I always promise you some very interesting guests, in their field of expertise. And tonight is no different. I have Mr. and Mrs. Tell me if I mess your name up. Huddleston.
Yes, Huddleston.
yes.
Huddleston. Yes, thank you, Lord. And they and they are the owners of NSAA African Creations. And they're also also doing some powerful things, you know, actually, behind the scenes and in Baltimore as well. But I'm gonna let them tell their story and go from there. So welcome, Mr. and Mrs. Huddleston. And they'll tell you their first names. I know Brother Kennedy and his uh go ahead and say your name because I know I butchered it the last time we spoke. So go ahead and say your name.
My American name is Marjorie. My West African
Mhm.
name is Jay.
Okay.
Okay. So my American name is Kennedy, and my chimney name is Ali Kagbo.
Ali Comp. Okay. Oh, okay. You know what? That's a good intro. Where you both from in Africa? Like, let's start with you, Brother Kennedy. Where you from in Africa?
Okay, so I'm from the northern region of Sierra Leone.
Okay.
And funny enough, we both traced our DNA back. We were already married when we did. So I did mine first. And I'm from the southern part of Sierra Leone, from a tribe, the Mende tribe. So a year later, he did his DNA, and we were surprised to find that he was also from Sierra Leone, but from the northern part in a different tribe.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. That's that sounds like faith and destiny right there to me. That's what
It
that
Hmm.
does.
sounds like.
It more interesting than that. The Mende and Timni tribe don't get along. Like they're kind of like rivalries for hundreds and hundreds of
They're
years.
at war.
So people find it funny that we found each other and got married.
Oh, okay. So wait a second. Your tribes are in a tribal war with each other.
Hundreds of years, yes.
Hmm.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Then is it still going on today, or is that all been peace treaty taken care of, or everything's good
Um,
now?
as it stands today, they just don't get along. They just don't like socialize. Like they do their own tribal ceremonies. They speak their own tribal language, and they really don't intermingle much.
Hello, brother Troy.
Hello?
Hello, brother Troy. Hmm.
Hey, your signal keeps going in and out. I can see you. I can see you, brother Kennedy. Can you hear
Oh, okay.
me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I was just checking for the sound. So what happened? Can you hear us clearly?
I can hear you and see you clearly right now. Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
great,
I
great.
can.
Yeah, she
Yes,
was
I can.
explaining to you, I think it got cut off, but she was explaining to you that they're not in a physical war anymore, the two tribes, but they definitely do not get along.
Right.
Um Yeah, they just flat out don't like each other. And
Okay, and that
I'll explain why at another time. I don't know if we have time
No.
to really cover
okay,
that.
okay, okay. Well, let's get into your history, and then we'll start. Then we'll transition into your business, and then from there, you can tell us what you're doing over. Did you say it was Sierra Leone?
Sierra
Yeah,
Leone.
yeah.
Yes, Sierra Leone. So, how did you meet? Because based on what you just told me, that sounds like faith just drove two spirits together. So how did you two meet?
We were both teachers at St. Francis Academy, the high school. We were both teaching at the time. And
This is in Baltimore, Maryland, right?
Baltimore, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Texas Academy.
We were both teaching, and his room was next to mine. And I was so annoyed that he was so loud in his room when I was teaching. So the first couple of months of us knowing each other, we argued and fussed the whole time.
Okay. Now you said he was loud. First of all, what were you teaching? Let's
I was
let's do that. What were you both teaching?
I was teaching algebra, geometry, and pre-calculus.
Yeah, at the time I was teaching something called Boys to Men and intro. Yeah, just Boys to Men at the time when we first met.
I think you had one English class.
Yeah, it might have been one other class, English, but mostly it was the program Boys to Men, a rites of passage program.
That's what I was gonna ask you. That's what I was gonna ask
Yeah, so the program was about really just trying to fill in some basic survival common sense into the youth before they get out the door through graduation and cut a fool. So basically, the class was designed to give them some basic survival techniques in life. But it was an all male class.
you. Got you.
And then I like to say this publicly that she actually thought I was arrogant. I don't know how. I do understand why she thought that. Yeah, and so that was the crux of the beef.
No, the
That she
crux of the
thought
beef
I
was
was arrogant.
he didn't want to quiet his class down. Now, I understand rites of passage, Boys to Men, all that. That sounds cute. But when you're trying to teach people algebra, geometry, and pre-calculus, you need focus, concentration, and a reasonable noise level. So when I would bust in his room to ask him to be quiet and he would refuse to and have something smart to say, I was like, this dude done lost his mind.
So I don't know. So a lot of people are not aware that when you have an all-male classroom and they're in high school, there's really no be quiet because the main thing is all the males are always trying to be alpha dog, and so there's no way to be quiet about that. And as an instructor in Baltimore City, a quiet, meager, soft male instructor teaching all males will get absolutely ran over. So I was not quiet. So I don't know if I can apologize for the noise, but it was necessary. Sometimes I had to push the desk out the way and move the lesson plan and just do push-ups. Sometimes it just depended on what we were doing at the time. I couldn't be quiet though. There was no way I could be quiet. Sometimes we did jumping jacks.
So could you imagine those jumping jacks while I'm trying to teach pre-calculus?
Okay. Yeah, because it sounds like your class brother was very interactive, as they say, and
Man,
yours wasn't. Yours was the complete opposite. Everybody was sitting there, kind of chilling, just doing their work. So
yeah,
Right.
they were
yeah,
trying to focus, and all you heard was all this other stuff going on in the classroom, and
Yes.
yeah.
you were like, and you grabbed your purse and went over there and was like, you need to tone that down.
Yes.
Right, right.
That's exactly how it went for months.
Yeah. So the thing about it is, there was an incident where I wanted my daughter attended the school. I got custody of my daughter from New York. She wasn't doing well. She had skipped like 68 days of class in New York, and so I got custody of her. my daughter landed in her math class. So I just peeped my head in one day to ask, hey, how's my daughter doing? And that's when she informed me that I needed to get out of her classroom and make an appointment.
Like every other parent.
And, all of that. So
that's when the war started. So that's when the Midday at Timney trial came out.
That's when the true Timney, right.
It seems like the hand of faith been driving you two together since the first time you met. That's actually a beautiful story. Yeah. It seems like the hand of faith.
Fast forward a couple years, we both got part-time jobs at a program at Johns Hopkins. It was years later. We became friends, and then we just started dating.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, that's the show. You know what? I want to jump in here and just ask a question before we transition onto your business, right?
Mm-hmm.
You and I have a mutual friend, Kennedy, Chuck. Okay. Chuck Maddox. He said he was telling me that you were out there on the scene back in the day when I was out there on the scene as well, when my name was something other than Troy, right? It was Truth, right? I started out as Truth the Poet, then it became Truth, which is an acronym for Thorough, Rhythmic, Unnerving, Tearful Hymns, right?
Okay.
And I formed a group called The Path, which was Chuck, Peace, Akil Maizan, and myself.
So I definitely heard of it. Well, so what happened was, we do have mutual circles and friends. Absolutely. The problem with that is I was kind of fading out at the time that you guys did that. I was aware of that. Yes, I was. But the thing about it is I was kind of fading out, thinking, oh, do I need to go back to school again? I think I just had another child. So I was just in the midst of fading out, but absolutely, definitely on the same creative circles, because everybody else that you named, we traveled together. You and I fortunately didn't have the opportunity to hook up and travel together, but everybody else you're talking about, we traveled to different cities and did like poetry slams.
Yes.
Yeah. So absolutely. How you doing then?
I'm doing good. I kind of transitioned out after I got married, and then had the baby, then the mortgage, then I just became corporate man.
Yeah.
And I had to do what you had to do to pay them bills,
Right.
So
I say that because I felt like I became the person I used to write protest poems about.
Yeah. That's exactly what you become. That's exactly what you become. But transition now from, you said you have part-time jobs into how you got started in the current business that you have now.
Yeah. So she's just really creative, and she decided one day that she didn't want to continue for the next 100 years teaching, and she just
declared. That's not how it started, though.
So the Mindy in her is coming out. So what happened was, she declared that she was absolutely not going to be working there anymore at the school, and she was going to do something else with her life. So when I was asking her what do you think of that you should do, she was like, I'm not sure yet, but I'm definitely not going to do this for the rest of my life. And so that is the summer where the change happened. Uniquely, I'll let her tell you the story. She can sum it up shorter than I can.
Well, Kennedy and I, it's called Inter African Creations now. Back then it was just called Inter, and it did not have a clothing component. But we used to do like African presentations. We used to do rites of passage ceremonies for teenagers, African baby naming ceremonies, and we were all about teaching the community the authentic culture. And we were both still teaching at the time, so we was doing it part-time. Somewhere along the way, I decided I didn't really care for the clothes that we were kind of wearing, because as a big girl, they was mostly just moo clothes and not really stylish. So I began to teach myself how to make beautiful African clothes in our sizes. So when we showed up at these cultural ceremonies and presentations, it would be with clothes on that we wore. And people that I made, and people were so excited about the ceremonies, but they were way more excited about the clothes. So early on, I used to just start making clothes for free. Like, oh, you want me to make you something for your ceremony? No problem, I'll do it. And then he was like, well, you should be charging people. That's a skill. Like, that's something that you are taking your time to do. And I was like, well, I never went to school for it. And I'm just kind of teaching myself. So I wasn't really comfortable with charging people. And he was like, go ahead and charge some people. And I didn't even know how to charge. So in the beginning, I used to just kind of let at will donations. So about a year, I just made clothes for people for whatever they would kind of just donate out of love to me. But what I realized was I got so much more joy out of making the clothes that I was teaching at high school. It became something I look forward to, that I would like rush home from school to make clothes and finish the clothes. And honestly, the business and the demand for the clothes, because I started with plus size clothing, plus size, stylish, trendy African clothes. The demand was so high, the business pretty much started itself. And it only took a year before I left teaching and had replaced my income. And then the following year, he could leave teaching and we replaced his income. And here we are 7 years later.
Well, well, thank you and hallelujah for that. Because you said something that definitely is dear to my heart. You said you started out making plus size clothing, and I'm a plus size guy, so I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that. Now, huh?
Give folks some love.
Now, when did you transition from making clothes for women into doing both, like clothes for men and women?
It's still not even. He fusses about that. So I used to just make clothes for him, males for him in custom orders. For our youngest son. But for now, I do keep a small amount of men clothes in stock. And I keep them in stock from small to 3X on the show. But still, that's about maybe 20% men and like 80% women. So I do always have some on hand now. But that started early, and he was an advocate for it. He was like, "You ain't gonna making all these skirts and not making no men dashikis."
Yeah, I felt like the brothers would definitely, if they had some creative, colorful stuff instead of just the regular black that you might find, that we would definitely move towards it. And it was definitely a hard pressed thing. But she's correct. The business actually drove itself. Because whatever business experience we had in terms of selling came from events. And I'll be the first one to say that anybody interested in starting a business, you don't necessarily have to have all the answers before you start, but you definitely need the energy and the drive. Because in that first year, this is unheard of. We probably did about, let's say, maybe 60 events in the first year, easily.
Part-time.
And most of them happened in the summer. And
it was part-time.
And yeah, most of the time, and we were still working at the high school.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
Exactly.
the energy that it took to start the business. So if you just have the energy, you will eventually learn. If you master your product, you don't have to be a master in business. You just have to master your product and have the energy. And basically, the client is going to mold you. You will either listen to the client and get better, or you won't listen to the client and you're gonna fail. But I know there's a lot of people out there starting business, COVID people, pre-COVID. You do not have to have any business professional training from
no,
because
neither one of us did business.
Nah, you just need to have the desire.
But the other thing, more than a desire and energy, is a passion. Like, we love African culture. We love African clothes. It was who we were as people.
Yeah, we wore them anyway.
So the clothes was just in my mind, I like to wear them. People feel good about themselves. I'm wrapping them in culture, and then I can tell them about culture. So definitely the passion made the difference.
Okay, now the colors, are those your tribal colors you use sometime, or how do you come up with the color schemes and all that for the clothing?
Well, the clothing is made with authentic African fabric, so we really don't have a lot of control over the color combinations. It's just we get the fabrics from Africa, and I just kind of pick the fabrics that I'm drawn to. Some of them I really love, and my golden rule is if I don't love it, I won't sell it. If I won't wear it,
Right.
because people are like, oh, if you do this, you'll make a bunch of money, but I won't wear that, so I'm not gonna make it. I don't really care because if you do what you love, the money will come anyway.
Right. Actually,
Mhm.
a lot of times, if she had done mainstream, I'm pretty sure we would have been at least 3 times as successful, but she would have been motivated to keep doing it.
I would have done it.
She would, because it's difficult to discipline yourself behind the sewing machine when you're not happy about what the finished product is going to look like. That's hard. I know that because she's now training me how to make pants.
Yeah, I'm training him to sew.
And that's interesting because I understand where she's coming from. If I don't start with liking the fabric, I ain't gonna be motivated to finish it. I'm not. I'm not happy with it. So I know what she's saying.
Go back to your original question.
Right.
I've been to East Africa, I've been to West Africa, and I just it's really important for me to get the authentic fabrics, and I like to go into the villages and get the fabric from the people that my money will help the most. And I literally, like, my favorite thing to do is to go into a little stand, some woman, some man, some child was selling fabric, and be like, just give me all of those. Like, and they like, all of what? I'm like, all of the fabrics
you have. The look on their faces like, what?
And then the fabrics are authentic, and then I feel, I mean, all African fabrics are colorful. West Africa tends to be a little more colorful than East at times, depending on where you go. But all of them are colorful and beautiful and vibrant, and all of them represent some part of our culture, our history, our past, our present. And when you put them on, you should feel the energy of that community, that village, that culture.
You should feel the spirit of it.
Yes.
Oh, also, you have a fan in the chat room. She's showing you some love. Her name is Lisa Bales. B-A. Lisa Bales, and she said that she loves the thumbnail is beautiful, and she loves the clothing, the whole color scheme and everything. Yeah.
Well, thank you. How you doing, Miss Lisa?
Appreciate it. Yeah.
But you know what? I'm gonna be honest with you. Just hearing you speak, my grandmother was a seamstress, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so she would go buy, like you said, go buy a lot of pants. I'll be honest with you, she bought a lot of clothes from the thrift store. She would size me up, right? Go to the thrift store, secondhand store, and she come home and measure out them clothes on me and get to work on, so I would have clothes and stuff. So I have a lot of respect for what you do. And you said you're self-taught also, right?
I am self-taught, but the cheat code to that is teaching math, the geometry, the calculations, the slope of a sleeve. That stuff comes very natural to me. And my background is engineering from Coppin. So the background, my life pushed me to be perfect at what I'm doing. So I wasn't formally trained to sew, but I think the gifting came from the ancestors and the knowledge came from my previous education and teaching.
Wow, you said you're an engineer, which explains the math. That
Yes.
explains the math portion of it. Lisa said you're welcome.
Oh, good. And just as an engineer, you kind of want to create. So it's just being creative, like you said, just being creative. And when I found the joy in it, it just became easier. And I did the same thing. I used to go to the Goodwill and buy clothes because I used to remember originally I used to do like a upcycle. I used to like cut them apart and put them together differently and use the old fabric instead of being wasteful. But also when I got stuck, like when I wanted to make my first blazer, and I was unsuccessful the first couple of attempts, he was like, let's go to the Goodwill, buy a blazer, take it apart, and see how it's put together. So that became my go-to thing. Go to the Goodwill, buy something, and take it apart and just look at the pieces and kind of like try to put the pieces back together and then kind of understand how it was made originally.
Okay, yeah, you're very, very creative. Now, Brother Kennedy, what's your input in it? I know she's teaching you how to make pants. In the future, do you see you transition into maybe making jackets or shoes? Because it was Chuck that turned me on to the hoodies. You make the dashiki hoodies?
My push is that I want First of all, I want for our brothers to wear the decorative things, but I want it in the same styles that are comfortable to us. So the true definition of African American clothing is that you would use the fabric from Africa, but not change the clothing styles much. And so my influence is to try to get my wife to make things that I like to wear, but just change the pattern. Like if it's something I would go to a store and buy, I want that, but I want the same thing in an African pattern. So that's why I might push to get a hoodie added onto something, or I might tell her, well, why don't you cut the sleeves out of that? Sometimes we just like to show our shoulders sometimes, but why don't you make that look more like a vest than that? And so that's my thing. I'm just trying to always um, take the styles that we like anyway and then have her do it. But I don't see myself migrating into anything. I want to stay at pants. I want to just make pants until I'm like really, really good at it. I'm
But
not
even
for
but even
all
beyond
that other
that,
stuff.
so the other thing, because I think he's skipping over it, in that he is a designer. I'm just doing the sewing. When it comes to like the masculine clothes and the design, that's I don't wear male clothes, so that's not really my thing. So I will go to him and say, hey, we need a new style dashiki or a new style accessory for a man, and him and I together will come up with what that should look like. We would draw it out, then I would do the math. And he would definitely be the one who I would say, hey, we need to go to Ghana, and I need you to go this time because not only am I getting female fabric, but I need you to help me pick out the male fabric. So he kind of became the male designer, but even though I would sew it. And from day one, he was the one who was pushing the business. Like I said, I was doing it for free. And then I was allowing people to pay me what they saw fit. And then he came in and was like, you need a business plan. This costs this much. Baby, you paying this much for thread. Our electricity went up this amount of money. We need to have like a price list. I'll do the selling because you're connected to the stuff. So he came in and shaped it into a business, which allowed me to create and kind of move away from that part.
Now,
so that was, I just wanted to add this to it. She's exactly, I almost forgot about that. But the thing about it is, I got irritated because she had friends who was trying to press her to hurry up and make stuff for free. And I was like, wait a minute.
That's not your friend.
Yeah. That's
what he would say.
I was like, nah, wait a minute. First of all, you don't be pressing nobody for no garment you get for free. How about you pay, so we had to struggle with the price. And at first her mindset was, and I don't want to be redundant, her mindset was, I don't think I'm a master at it yet. I don't think people should pay me. But I'm saying if people are pressing you, if it's good enough that they're pressing you for it and they wearing it, it's good enough that they pay some money for it. So that's when the decision was made, okay, you need to mass produce. And that's where the sewing machines came in. Because believe it or not, she was sewing stuff by hand with a needle and thread. That first year was by hand. And I was like, if you can sew a seam line that straight with your hand, it's time for you to get a machine. Because it was amazing that she could, no line was out of place. And I've seen her poking jean material.
But that's the engineer part of me, though. That's the math. That's that.
I was like, that is incredible.
Because if you think about it, when I was a teacher, the teachers would tease me because I would write across the board perfect lines, symmetric, every letter the same size, and that's kind of difficult to do. But that's just how I am, though.
Yeah. So she always had a gift. She's like an artist, the way a painter thinks. But
yes.
Yeah.
I'm just in amazement that you did that by hand. By hand? Yeah, I'm just in amazement that you did.
Through jean material. So I thought when I was a young kid that I was fly, and I used to try to sew stuff with a needle. But if you pushing it through jean material, you after about 4 or 5 times, you're gonna quit. How's she gonna make a whole skirt out of jean material and not one seam be out of place? And she ain't poke herself with the needle.
No, I ain't gonna
You
post.
were you were strong. You're very strong then because, like
Oh
I said,
yeah.
my grandmother was a seamstress, but she had one of those a sewing machines that was inside of a cabinet and it folded out like an old Singer,
Oh
and it
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
was a black one from like the 1800s. She would plug it in, and it had a foot pedal,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
And that's what she had, and she loved that thing because that was a family heirloom passed down in the family, right?
Mhm.
So my mom thought she was doing her a favor by getting her a new sewing machine and getting rid of her old machine. I've never seen my grandmother cry the whole day, and then years later, you try to buy one of them singing machines and see how much they cost.
Exactly. We
Yeah.
have one of
Yeah.
those. It doesn't work, but I was just kind of keeping it for the history of it. That
Yeah.
folds into the table with the footwheel. Yeah, I have one
Yeah. Those are priceless.
just to kind of remember it.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Now,
Comfortable. They
you know
last.
what? I got I got a talk for you, but I'm gonna talk to you about that off air, right? I got a thought for you for your business, but I'm gonna talk to you about that off air. Now let's transition into going back home and buying the land and building back home.
Yeah, that's kind of our favorite thing these days. I have been traveling back and forth to Africa for a couple of years now. And going home is good. Like no matter where I land on a continent, because I've been like Tanzania, Ethiopia, Kenya, and I was on the east, and then I went to the west. So no matter where you land up on the continent, you feel like you're home. But it was about 2 years ago where I was like, it's good to go home, but I want to go home, home.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know where my ancestor was stolen from. I want to know where my blood is still on the land. If I was not a product of enslavement, where would I live? What would my life look like? And then I did a couple of DNA tests. My favorite was the African ancestry because it gave you the tribe, the region, the country. So mine came back that I was on my mother's side, Sierra Leone Mende tribe, and nothing else. Most of the time you get a test back, it lists like two, three things because in that bloodline, people got married, people had children together from different tribes, different cultures. But I came back all Mende tribe and nothing else. Kennedy and I were already planning a trip to Ghana, um, that we were going to be there for 6 weeks. Sierra Leone in Ghana is a 2-hour plane ride. So the whole time I was in Ghana, I was like, ain't no way in the world I am. And I had just got the information maybe like 4 weeks before we left for the trip.
Yeah.
So I was like, there's no way in the world I'm going to be a 2-hour plane ride from where I'm from and not go there. Kennedy couldn't go at the time. And I was like, that's no big deal because I've traveled to Africa by myself several times.
Yeah.
So I found out where my tribe was, where the village my ancestor was taken from. Contacted some people there, and legit, maybe 2-3 weeks later, showed up by myself on a plane in a country where I'd never been, didn't speak the language, and was like, "Hey, cousin." And that wound up being the most exciting 8 days that I can think of on the motherland.
That's
Um,
that took a lot of heart.
I think it would have took a lot of heart to come back home and not done it.
Yes, it sounds like you were driven to do it. So yes, yes.
I had to, but my family, I found some family there. I found an 18th cousin removed. We only share 1.67% of the blood, but the fact that he still has my blood. And he's a young man. He's 19 now. He was 18 at the time. So him and his uncle met me at the airport, which was a 6-hour journey from the village that I'm from. So they took a 6-hour journey, waited on the side of the curb for my plane to land for hours, and they just sat it. So, like I said, I never met them before. I got off the plane. They had been sitting there in the sun all day. And as I was landing, I could feel my blood kind of standing up in my veins. It's almost like the DNA had a memory. And I kind of was like, maybe I'm having a panic attack. Maybe I'm having anxiety. but my blood was rushing so fast through my veins. And I could not get off that plane fast enough. I had no idea what happened. Like I said, Sierra Leone is like the 109th poorest country. People's like, don't go there, it's not safe, they really poor, da da da. But I was like, I don't care what it is. And I got off that plane, and Abubakar and Uncle Zach met me right at the entrance. And when I tell you, I never felt more welcomed. I never felt more safe. I never felt more cared for. And I didn't know it was a 6-hour journey. So I went from the plane to the ferry, then we had to get on the bus. And I went to the village, Knoble, which is where my ancestor was from. And when we arrived there, I'll never forget, it was so many people like waiting. I found out later that I was the first descendant of enslavement to ever return home. So as much as I had been anticipating where I came from and learning about them, there was equal anticipation multiplied by the hundreds of people that lived in that village that had been waiting 400 plus years to meet me.
Wow, that sounds like a book which will transition into a powerful movie.
I've heard that quite a few times.
Yeah.
I actually had to carry my paperwork with me. The historian to the village wanted to make sure I was who I said I was before the parades and the ceremonies and the celebrations, and before all of these things happened in 8 days. It was an incredible 8 days. I decided, because they wanted to know where I wanted to stay. And it's a hotel, it's one hotel in the whole community. And I was like, I'm staying where y'all stay. So for 8 days, I had no electricity, no running water, no bathroom, nothing. I was like, however y'all live, I'm living. We would get up in the morning before light come, and we would get water from the well, take showers outside. I mean, we cooking outside on fires. I'm like, whatever y'all do, that's what I'm doing. Like, I didn't want to come to get to know you guys, but be separate. Like, I wanted to do what you're doing.
Yeah, it sounds like you wanted to shred the American and just say, okay, well, I'm all in. I'm going to be all in and show you that I really still have the heritage in my soul. I still have it, and I'm learning, and I'm going to learn more from you.
Absolutely, and I learned a lot. And I mean, it was kind of pressure, because no matter where I went, of course, they had never seen an African American, so they was all kind of like following me around. Like, it was a little weird, but I understood it, and I also enjoyed like their language. And I was sitting listening to them talk. I had no idea what they were talking about, but just the language felt like music to me. Like, it felt like, I don't know, like it pleased my soul.
Right now, is it? I know they have their tribal language, but is French a big language there as well? Is French influenced at all in Sierra Leone or no?
That's where the Gullah Geechee started from, in Louisiana. So in Sierra Leone, the universal language is Creole.
Oh, okay. How about the cooking? Is it similar to, I guess, what Creole cooking, what you consider Creole cooking to be?
It's super flavorful. Yes, it's kind of a mixture of that Louisiana, Mississippi flavorful food mixed with Nigerian food. Like, it's kind of like that good medium.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? My brother is Yoruba, and he grew up in Nigeria with his father. Now, funny story, right? If you look at his father's side of the family, we have different fathers, right? Because I'm from Yard, I'm from Jamaica. That's where I was born, right? So, but if you look at his family album, his father's side of people, they all look like me. And his father, from the first time he took a look at me, he said, "No, I don't care where you were born. You are not. You are Yoruba. You are Yoruba. You are Yoruba." He told my mother that since I was a child, right? Every Yoruba that sees me tells me the same thing, from the way I walk to the way I deal with my children, just everything. When they took one, there's a guy across the street that bought some houses, right? He's from DC. He's Yoruba. And he came up to me. I was sitting at my house, and he's like, "Excuse me, brother. I wasn't sure, but are you Yoruba?" And I bust out laughing. And I said, "No, but I get that all the time. So I guess I have to go investigate. I'm going home with my brother in about a year or two. I'm going to Nigeria." because he's on the police force. He's about to retire in about a year or two, right?
That's
And he
what's
wants to
up.
go home for about a year. And his father definitely wants me to come down. His father been bugging me for years.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. That's how it
But
is.
being born in Jamaica just means that you came from Africa and y'all stopped first before we got to America. So
Yeah.
you are from
Yeah.
somewhere in Africa. It could be Nigeria, it could be somewhere else, but that just means that you got off the boat to stop before us. That's all that means.
hmm That's all. We still brothers. We still connected.
You're still from Africa.
So yeah, you were asking about the mission there. So anybody who goes to the continent, what you're gonna notice is you're gonna see the creativity, the beautiful love, but you also gonna see the need.
The poverty, the
You're
severe
going
poverty.
and you're
Yeah.
gonna see it. Just like in Jamaica. When you go to Jamaica, you got a choice. You can go to the Jamaican resort and never really walk through the actual streets, or you can go through the streets of Jamaica and you'll see the need. Any place that has that degree of need, there was no way that she was going to leave her homeland and not make a commitment to come back and help. There was no way that was not going to happen. Because what I understood is I was in Ghana at the time and I saw her coronation. They were basically trying to make her like a chief or queen of the village. And so she had a mission. In fact, she didn't tell you this, but the naming ceremony, Moonjay, that means mother, our mother.
Yeah, Moon means our and Jay
So,
means mother. So it means our mother, the mother of the whole village.
so because she was the first African American to come back to that particular part of Africa. Now keep in mind, it's deep in the south of Sierra Leone. So everybody always wants to come back to the big city, Sierra Leone.
Freetown.
Freetown. They had millions of Americans. But when you get way in the south part in the backwoods where they real poor, people don't go there. They don't have a reason to go there because the people are so poor. They don't have industry, they don't have nothing. So she's made a solid commitment to come back and help. We felt like we would be better to help. We'd be more effective if we had a base, a headquarters. So that's where the initiative came to start building housing, purchasing
Well, I
land.
always say we had to buy the land, but I didn't buy it immediately. So because I was in Sierra Leone by myself and he was in Ghana, I just felt like as a wife, you can't really make that type of decision. But in my heart, I knew it was something I wanted to. So what I did was I identified 3 lands that I would love to have. I hired a lawyer that specialized in real estate transfer and property. And I came home and I talked to him about it. And I was saying, I found some land. I think it's a good thing that we should do. We could build, some industry. Like we can really start building up that southern part because even people that live in the north of Sierra Leone that was born there never been to that part of Sierra. And I was like, if we build a home for ourselves and we build an Airbnb, because there's not even an Airbnb in that entire
community. Not at all.
And then if we build some little huts and stuff for them to, reproduce some of my clothing for me. Like I send the master and then have 4 or 5 seamstresses that's working full time and they reproduce. That's 4 families that's going to have a living wage. And I'll be able to multiply my business. So it started with just talking to him first when I came home. The other things I was going to do anyway, like build a couple of wells in my village. That was going to be happening no matter what, help build up the masjid and different things. So when I came home, I was super excited, but I also wanted to be respectful. Like I already left you in Ghana and got on this plane and went to this strange country and you looked at me a little side-eyed. I didn't want to come home and be like, oh, I'm about to do this and this. And he's like, we haven't discussed any of this. But he agreed and he saw the passion I had for it and he saw the vision and he's like, okay, baby, we can do it. So the following year, I was so excited about what I was doing and what I had learned and making the connections with the village. And I just wanted him to have the same for himself. So for his birthday, I got him the African ancestry. And we were kind of surprised that it came back to Sierra Leone. So it was like, oh, it's perfect. Buying land in a place where we're both from makes perfect sense. So the house is a duplex. my distant relatives will live in half the house, and the other half will be for us. And that way they will have decent housing because they don't now. And then we're building the Airbnb on the land, and then we're building a place for some seamstress to come and work. And then we still have some land left, so we'll kind of think that through. But people can now visit. They can have a comfortable place to stay. I get it. People are not going to be hardcore like me. They need a toilet. They need running
Yeah,
water.
they're gonna need that.
They need a shower. They need electricity. I went hard. I don't expect everybody to do that. I enjoyed it. I'll do it again. But people not spending thousands of dollars to go to other countries to live that way. So I thought to have a house with all the American comforts in the middle of a village where they can walk out the house and be in the middle of a real village with a culture that's super rich, where they can learn a lot, like right there. It's just kind of a beautiful situation.
Yeah. Wow. I'm here listening, and I'm just sitting back, just like I'm in awe. I'm just like, wow, because it's been one heck of a journey from how you met to everything else you've been through, to going to buy that land, traveling to back and forth to Africa like that. And then you said that you were the first African American to come back to that part of Africa, right? And that actually meant something. That
From
is
that village,
powerful.
yes, from that village. And they, as much as because we over here, like we want to go home, we want to know where we from, da 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 da. I realized halfway through my trip that as broken as we are, as disconnected from our culture as we are, being just a product of enslavement and just carrying that with you, that they are equally as broken. And I went for personal healing, but I saw that we was all healing each other. Imagine a time where your sister, your brother, your cousin, your auntie, your mom just got taken, just kidnapped, just taken away, and her children are not there, and everything that they would have reproduced, children, industry, doctors, whatever, it's just taken away. So as much as the person that was enslaved suffered, is as much as the people that were left behind. And when they never return, your family can never heal. Just like if your family member gets murdered, you're waiting for the trial because you need closure. You need something to happen because of that. So imagine waiting 400 years for someone to finally return, to finally come back. The gentleman that his family adopted me when I was there. Like I said, we 18 cousins removed. 8 generations ago, we shared a great, 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 great grandmother. They were sisters. Just imagine, like that bloodline was just taken away, and nothing was put in its place. So yes, they're poor. Yes, they lack resources. But guess what? We are those resources that they lack. We are the difference that would have been made if we were born there. Imagine.
You're the spiritual bridge. Yeah. Wow.
Exactly. So just sitting there, I was like, I came because, hey, I want to know where I'm from. I want to know what language but it wasn't about me at all. It was so much deeper than me.
Right. Wow. 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 All I can say is wow, because like I said, from this started, it seems like fate and destiny had their hands over both of you from the start. From the whole turn down. You're kind of loud to this, that, and the third, and then to where you are today. And that being said, we have 5 minutes left because I know your time is kind of limited. We have 5 minutes left. I want you to give out whatever social media you have, and wherever you could be found. If you have a store or anything, put that out there as well. People come and buy your products, and just let them know what's in store for NSAA African Creations in the future.
Okay, well, NSAA is actually a word. It's INSA. INSA is one of the African and Dinka symbols, and that's the symbol of my logo, just like the the Janame is one of the ancient symbols. It's actually, no, it's tattooed on my arm, but
Let me ask you a question real quick. I have someone in the chat room. Thoughts of the Week podcast wants to know Do you have a bloodline that's connected to the Black Indians of America?
I do not. My I know we all say that we are, um, but we're not. I'm not. When I did another DNA, I have less than 1% trace elements of Indian or Native American.
Okay. Okay.
A lot of people. Um, so the tradition in the South is is that my grandmother was Indian, my grandfather was Indian. A lot of times that was explained away. That was really an African culture that at the time they were ashamed of. And at one time, it wasn't good to say that I was African, especially right after release of slavery during the Reconstruction. Black people didn't want to be associated with actual Africans at the time. So it was easy to explain away, oh, we're Indian, rather than say African, because the truth of the matter is they really didn't. And then they didn't have DNA kits back then.
People just didn't know.
So they relied on just the rumors from the grandparents and the great grandparents of what they were.
But when I did another DNA, I am actually 74% West African, 21% British, 9% East Africa, and 1% Filipino, which is kind of an odd mix. But this is the INSA African Ndinka symbol. It means done with excellence. So my business just is saying African creation is done with excellence. So that's just the whole breakdown. But you can find me on every social media platform: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, NSAA, which is INSA African Creations. And you'll see that purple circle pop up every one, that any social media platform. My website, you can buy, I have stuff shipped to your house anywhere in the United States, which is www.nsaacreationswithan.com. If you are here in Baltimore, you can come shop in a boutique. Like I said, follow me on social media. The address, the time, the days, all of that's listed on every social media platform. So please, yes, follow me. If you type in NSAA, you'll see that purple circle come up. I don't care where you are. You don't even have to get through the rest of the word. And it looks just like this, but it's a purple circle with the INSA logo, INSA.
Mm-hmm. And in the future, we're gonna see more clothing for us, big men.
Actually, there's some things that I have hanging up right now for some big guys. We haven't done a fashion show since the pandemic. The last fashion show we rented out the Reginald F. Lewis Museum and was able to fill the entire museum.
Excuse me.
We are looking to probably have our first return show probably next year. The other thing we're doing tours to Africa. Next month, we're taking 12 people to Ghana who has never been to the continent before. So this is something new. We're calling it INSA African Exploration. So we're now interested in taking people home to the motherland.
And just, I actually want to touch on the Airbnbs one more time. What's the time frame in that? Is you looking about a year or years before before all that's going to be ready?
We're looking at that to be done in 2023.
Yeah. Okay, next year. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. See, now, aren't you glad that he was that forceful and loud, or else you'll still just be getting rushed by your so-called friends? Where my dress at? Where my dress at? Huh?
Well, it's the artistry in her. It's the artistry. She loves it 100%, and she would actually do it for free easily if we had another way to pay bills. And technically, she did do it for free when we had another way to pay bills. But the thing about it is just a funny outtake. I know we're winding down. If you look at the movie Amistad, there's a scene of a Timney man arguing with a Mende man. It's the scene where Senke is trying to convince them how to take over the ship. You familiar with the movie?
And Senke is Mende.
Yes.
I think I watched most of it. I don't know if I watched all of it or not, but I think I watched most. But go ahead.
Okay, so there's an argument, and they're arguing back and forth. There's a Timney man who's arguing with the lead character. So basically, he's saying to him, no, that's not that. Let's kill everybody. And Senke is saying, no, let's leave the one that drives the boat, because we can force him take us back to Africa. And the Timmy man is saying, no, we can't trust them. And he said, so if you kill them, how are we going to get back? And he pointed up to say, we'll just follow the stars. But we can't trust them. You know, these are the same people who stole us. So it's an interesting argument.
Right.
There's merit on both sides, from the Timney and from the Mende. But if you want to get an idea of how those tribes operate, that's how they operate. And it's still true today. They will get right in each other's face and argue and spit, but not necessarily swing on each other. And that argument can last for hours, and they'll be yelling and screaming at each other. So that's a good depiction of our tribes.
Yeah, that's a whole lot of aggression. A whole lot of you could call it passive aggression because no one's hitting it, swinging or anything. But let me tell you what, you have been some of the one of the best guests I've had. Let me tell you something. Everybody I've had on has brought a certain energy, right? And I'm blessed, really blessed about that. You all make my job easy because I didn't have to do too much prodding and prompting, anything like that. You flowed as you told the story, and I definitely want to talk to you on the back end. So when I end the show, which will be in the next few minutes, I just need you to stay on after I end the show, right?
Okay.
Because I wanted to talk to you about something. I'll pass my number on to you too. I just want to shout out the folks that came through in the chat: Lisa Bales, Major Keys, Respect, Thoughts of the Week, and everybody else that's gonna watch the replay. Because usually you get more numbers on the replay and all that, right?
Yeah.
Because you know, even though you shared, because you saw me share it so much on Facebook and maybe IG as well. People, you know, they have their own lives, so you know, they'll just get to it when they get to it, right? But I thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Thank you for the invite.
Let me tell you what, from the time that's your hoodie that you made, right? You know, the dashiki hoodie that Chuck was wearing.
Yeah.
Is that okay? Because that was back in the day when he had the boot, you know, the gout boot. When he had the gout boot. Yeah. So yeah, that's how. See, that's how long ago it was. And I kept bugging him. He's like, he kept telling me who you were, right? But I couldn't, you know. And then I kept missing the fashion show for whatever reason, right?
Yeah.
Because you're not there. Well, yeah, and I missed all 5 because I'm in South Baltimore, so it's not like I couldn't have made it up there, right?
Oh, wow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm in South Baltimore over here. So, but the next time you do a fashion show, tell me in advance, and I can do a live stream on the show. You know, so while you're there doing your thing, it'll be playing on here as well. And if you want to hook up a link where people could purchase while you actually doing the fashion show, I have no problems with you doing that either. Right?
We actually, our videographer does a live stream and sell the tickets to the show online.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. But let me
we
I got an outro.
No, I was saying thank you again. We appreciate you.
Oh, that's no problem, man. And you're definitely gonna come back. But let me do this outro, and I'm gonna talk to you on the back end after I end the show. Okay?
Okay.
Just stick and stay. You know, and you know, go ahead and put your mic on mute for me.
Okay.
All right. So I want to thank everybody for coming out. I definitely want to thank my guests for being here. You know, Mr. and Mrs. Huddleston, that is a powerful story, and the story is not ended. The story is continuing. That tells you they said some things in here which really moved me. They said you don't have to know Baltimore City, majors in Baltimore City. That's where it is. They said that you don't have to know everything when you go into business, but you must have the passion and the drive to do it. You must have the passion and the drive to do it, or you will burn yourself out. I don't know how you sewed a jean skirt by hand, but you must have the passion and the drive to do it, right? Bless up yourself, one and all. I'm going to do my outro here, then I'm going to talk to these wonderful people on the back end. So bless up once again. Let me play this outro and the commercial. So hold on. I got to get I'm still here, but believe it or not, there's a commercial.
Oh wow.
I won't hide. I won't hide. Home, home, is that you now? Home, home, is that you now? Home, 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 is that you now? And if Jah is standing by my side, then why should I be afraid of the pestilence that crawling by night? Jah is
Respect, and love to one and all, man. Just keep on coming through, and I'll keep on bringing these wonderful, powerful, profound people to you, man. I love their stories, man. I love it. This is why I do this. Anybody can anybody can do the drama. Anybody can do the low hanging fruit stuff. I don't want to do that. I'm a grown man and I'm a grandfather. I want to feed your souls when I get on here because that's what drives me. And if I'm not driven to do it, then what's the point of me doing it? I'm lying to myself. Bless up yourself and peace out, one and all. Bless up.